It's the first Sunday episode that we've done in a while where there hasn't been an F1 race to watch and therefore review. So we thought it'd be a good opportunity with 5 races, 1 sprint down in the season so far, to reflect on how all the teams are doing, because there's some variety in how happy and unhappy some of these teams will be after those first 5 races. We're going to give 3-word summaries for each of them. We'll go round in a little circle and then we'll discuss what each of us thinks of the season so far, where our 3-word summaries have come from. So we'll go in championship order as it is right now. So, of course, we start with the defending Constructors' Champions, McLaren. Sam, your 3 words?
My 3 words for McLaren, which I definitely didn't write about 6 minutes ago. Zach hugs Oscar.
God, this is going to be a long episode.
There's a lot of meaning behind it, actually. I think that rather physical act of the big old, yeah, a big American bear that hugged him as he got out of that car when he won in Saudi, I think is actually quite a physical representation of the responsibility of drivers shifting slightly between Lando to Oscar Piastri. We're five races in. I've already bleated on multiple episodes about how there's been that 33-point swing, my new favourite stat after 17th in a DNF. That's good fun, that, isn't it? Always a McLaren one.
The sequel doesn't slap quite as much, but it's still good.
I'm going to disappoint in Shrek 2.
Can't even.
No, unfortunately.
Can't press it.
And I do think that people are waking up to Oscar Piastri. I think they're realising just the level of talent that he has. He's here to rock with the big boys. He's not going to be the number 2 driver to Lando Norris. He hasn't got to listen to team orders, which happened like we did last year, where Norris had that glimmer, that chance of a driver's title against Max Verstappen, and he had to kind of play second fiddle. He's here from the start. He's got the points in from the start. You did a great bit of analysis about how he does the Auntie Tsunoda, and he needs to get the start and the end of the season correct. He's done that so far. First 5 races, apart from one mistake, he's absolutely slapped the rest of the grid. And long may it continue. I think it's a great capacity to have at the front. And I think McLaren are starting to notice their drivers are much closer in ability than what we maybe thought a year or so ago.
3 words, Harry.
Fast, almost silly.
Almost silly.
Sequel.
The sequel.
I mean, that's better than last year, I guess.
Well, yeah, we're not going to go into that because I'm still scarred by the way that went. Yeah, look, clearly the fastest car on the grid. Not maybe by as much as some people are making out or some people think, but still the fastest car. And for the most part, they've made the most of it. 3 out of 4 wins.
4 out of 5 wins.
4 out of 5 wins. So far this year. Just a couple of moments where they've been maybe a little bit silly, and not just the team. Lando Norris in qualifying in Saudi, then both falling off the road in Australia. That could have easily been no points.
Nil point.
Nil point. Thank you, French Sam.
You're welcome.
Bonjour.
I don't know what you're welcome is, French.
They're not starting Eurovision.
So yeah, it for the most part though, it's gone very well. There's just a couple of little sprinkling of silliness in there, but for
Petit sprinkling.
yeah. Yes, exactly.
Sprinkle.
That's what they say. But for the most part, a very, very good start, and they're making the most of their fastness.
But not enough of their silliness.
They don't need to make the most of the silliness. No, we don't want that.
For the sake of jokes, maybe we do.
Well, yeah, true.
Yeah, for the sake of their points haul. That is understandable.
Ben, your 3 words.
Yeah, I'm going down a similar wavelength to
You haven't got mine.
No. I mean more. I've gone for the team rather than a Piastri focused 3 words. World record pace. That's what they're on at the moment. Like, despite all of the questions about Lando Norris, and we know he hasn't been perfect in qualifying this year, and despite Oscar Piastri's 9th place finish in Australia, they are currently on pace for 902 points. That would, to be clear, no other team has ever gone over 900. Only one team, which was Red Bull in 2023, have ever gone over 800. So they are on pace to set records for a points total. And I think it speaks volumes to our raising of expectations for McLaren this year versus last year, why we have at points been critical about the team, despite the fact that they're on this record pace. Like, they've already won 4 races. They won 6 all of last year. They've got 19 races for the rest of this year to get 2 more wins that would match their total when they won the Constructors' Championship last year. So they have had a brilliant start to the season. They have been consistent, and it just goes to show that when you have a great team principal in Stella, a great car, as they obviously do, a great lineup in Piastri and Norris, and everything comes together, they've got the consistency now. Yeah, you're going to do quite well in this sport. They've got 8 out of 10 podiums to this point, which is 5 clear of anyone else. So what could theoretically stop them at this point, Sam?
Themselves. We've discussed this before. This is where the almost silly ties in very nicely. Wow, McLaren got hands. They are really at a risk of self-destructing if they don't work themselves out before the trouble emerges properly. They've got this driver dynamic where both drivers are fantastic talents. They've got huge careers in front of them, loads of time where they could go on to be multiple world title winners, tens of victories. Maybe, who knows? If that car's that good and one sticks around for that long, they could be up there with Verstappen's tally in the next 6-7 years. They also need to make sure that they don't get lost in themselves. McLaren seem to get a little bit overly worked up with how things are going on. They talk a bit too much. They say more than they need to. And I just think they need to, look down the barrel, focus on one thing and one thing only. That's success. That's beating their rivals. Just keep nailing the development of the car. And they may have to realise that one driver is worth the priority over another and not do this brilliant, we really like him, but we don't want to compromise anything with him and blah, 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 blah. I just think they need to make sure they got their priorities are.
I would agree with themselves being the correct answer here. And we have to this point not seen Piastri and Norris sharing the same racetrack all that often. We obviously had it slightly in Australia in what were pretty tricky conditions, and then in Japan, but that was obviously not fighting for the win.
You weren't getting past there.
It'll be interesting to see if there are going to be some situations where one of them doesn't necessarily mess up qualifying and they are both gunning for a race.
Saw Monza right last season.
Yeah.
That was an interesting battle.
Exactly. And I know we had Hungary as well, which was similarly controversial. So that could be the next big test for McLaren. Harry, the other thing that I'm nitpicking here that McLaren I think could improve on is their qualifying. We have seen Verstappen pip them to the post a couple of times. We have seen Norris struggle a little bit. Based on how close the cars seem to be and how this season is turning into a bit of a qualifying championship, it does feel like, at least to me, that Saturdays might be where this championship's won or lost.
Yeah, I think that's a fair comment. I think as well, I don't think it necessarily matters that they don't always get pole. Obviously Suzuka did, but you can't really overtake there. But we saw in Saudi it didn't matter for Piastri in the end. I think as long as they are up at that end of the grid, first couple of rows, they're going to be okay because they've got the car underneath them certainly in the race, so they can probably recover ground. Not to keep picking on him, but Norris putting it in the wall in Q3, that's ruined his race. Ruined his race. So I don't think pole is important, but you're right. I think Saturdays are very important for them because, for the most part, the cars are... McLaren had the fastest, yes, but the cars are super close.
And you put 2 cars, let's say, in the top 4 for McLaren, suddenly they don't really need to at the moment with the advantage they have in the Constructors' Championship, but you'll probably... if you could be in a 2-on-1 scenario against Verstappen or Russell. Like that could very easily happen. Both of those teams haven't quite yet got 2 drivers consistently in the fight in the same way that McLaren do. So
interestingly, both times they have been in a 2-on-1, Bahrain and in Japan, nothing came of it. They failed both times to get their drivers 1-2 on the grid.
Let's move on to Mercedes, who are currently second in the championship, which if they were to keep that would be 2 positions higher than what they secured last year. 3 words, Harry.
Solid as heck.
Oh, you ever had a heck sausage?
No.
They're very good.
Oh, God, I'll try one.
Yeah.
Do they get different flavours?
They are chicken sausages. They do some good vegan sausages. Give it a go, man. Branch out.
Oh, well, I'll up my sausage game. Mercedes. This I think, the car they had this year is the most consistent car they've had since 2021. It works pretty much on every type of circuit that's been thrown at them so far. And Mercedes have not had that since that last year where they won a constructors. So that will be a relief to them, I think. And George Russell has proven that if you give him a solid car, he will do his utmost to put it on the front row and get podiums. Antonelli doesn't know where the brake is, so it doesn't matter for him. But yeah, I think this has been a very encouraging start for Mercedes, because I think the worry for them for a while, they've lost team members, including the 7-time world champion Lewis Hamilton. I think they're easy to draw conclusions that they were starting to fail as a team, as a championship winning team. But this has proven that they can actually build a good car. It's not won any races yet, but I think it could this year. And it's a good foundation to be. Real shame it's come right in the last year.
I was about to say, could they not have done it a little earlier?
Yeah, probably. But, they've got there in the end, and hopefully that's a good sign for 2026 for them. But, yeah, just very, very solid, which I know it's a bit boring, but it's just that's kind of what they needed, because they've been so inconsistent for so many years now.
3 words, Sam.
No, it's a me.
God, I can't wait for your explanation as to what this means.
Is it's a one word? Right.
It's Italian.
ITSSA.
Maybe an apostrophe in there somewhere.
No, because that would imply it's an abbreviation. So.
Oh, okay.
It's one word. Italian, very well known.
Yes.
They say it all the time in Rome.
Just Rome.
Just Rome. I actually think this pertains to Lewis Hamilton moving away. They had to do a huge reshuffle. We saw that last year. He announced that move so early on that the culture in Mercedes felt very lax. It felt a little bit difficult and toxic. George Russell had a brilliant season, and everyone kind of went, well, is George Russell actually good? Or is Lewis Hamilton just completely checked out and is not bothered anymore about this team, and he's driving at 50% and he's whatever, and George Russell is just driving the car as it should be driven? And I think we're seeing, actually, that George Russell is spectacular at the moment. He really is such a talented Formula 1 race driver. And Kimi Antonelli is not letting himself down by any mean feat. He is the second driver you need. He's in his rookie season. He's delivering everywhere he realistically needs to. Yeah, there's more to come. Of course there is. There's more consistency on tyres. His race management needs to improve. His qualifying arguably could be better than George Russell occasionally. We could see that flux back and forth a bit more. But there's a real risk that Mercedes could have been bogged down by the fact of, we don't have Lewis Hamilton anymore. Actually, I think this is a massive chance to refresh. I think they're delivering on that refreshment. I think Mercedes have come back feeling rejuvenated, new, they're competitive. The car is working 9 times out of 10 to a very solid level, and they are very competitive. So I think this is a good bounce back from Mercedes at the start of this season. I don't think they're going to be title challengers, unfortunately. I don't think they're got it in them. But if they can use this momentum and bring it into the new regulations, there's every chance that they could be right up there at the very top come 2026. So really impressive start from them. They'll want more, of course, but they're getting there. It's a good turnaround.
Okay. You know when you're proud of something and you probably shouldn't be.
Oh, no. What have you said then?
My 3 words. I'm so sorry. Merc in progress.
Oh, come on.
Merc in progress.
That might be a timeout worthy, Ben.
I don't blame it. I don't blame it.
We're going to go to our first break.
I don't blame it whatsoever. It does feel like 2025. It hasn't been to this point oh my goodness, this goes beyond our wildest dreams of what we could have hoped for this year. But it has, kind of like you said, Harry, it's just ticked every box. Like everything that they want to improve in, everything that was realistic to improve in. Yeah, they've kind of done it to this stage. Consistency, way better than last year. Certainly this point last year. So apart from Antonelli finishing 11th in Bahrain, they've been in the top 6 in the other 9 occasions in the 10 race starts so far. They had 3 out of 10 at this point last year. So it is a wild improvement. They have been better in hot conditions. Bahrain, they got P2. Saudi wasn't quite as good, but Bahrain, George Russell got 2nd place. They've been overall quicker. This is the first time since 2021 that they have been over 100 points at this point in the season. Again, could have done it slightly earlier, but all right, we'll take it. And then in terms of the drivers, there was a question about George Russell. Could he be the team lead? Yes, he can be the team lead. He's, if you think of him versus Antonelli, he's been ahead in, I think, every single competitive session to this point. I think there's a case to say he's been inside the top 3 drivers so far this season. And speaking of Antonelli, he's settled really well, and he's shown a variety of traits that will serve him well in his F1 career. The fact that he's pulled off an overtake on Max Verstappen 5 races into his F1 career, that bodes well. His comeback in the rain in Australia, that bodes pretty well too.
What a move that was as well.
So yeah, and all of this, of course, is with 2026 in mind, and it seems pretty good. It seems pretty good so far. Be interesting though, the next couple of races, Miami, Monaco, Imola. Miami, never had a podium there. Imola, haven't had a podium there since 2021. And Monaco, haven't had a podium there since 2019.
Yeah, again, usually we hit the hot... Miami's hot anyway, right? Florida, famous for being warm. Good that, isn't it? Good analysis. Europe, we start to hit that hot summer period, and Imola can be famously a very... almost like a surprisingly hot Grand Prix to turn up to. So we'll see if that heat-aware Mercedes is actually able to thrive. Monaco, usually because of its street circuit lightiness and the way they used to porpoise around, the car used to bounce, and they couldn't get that traction down properly. They used to really struggle around Monaco with this current generation of cars. So let's see if they can turn it around.
Last one before we hit our first break. Red Bull, Harry, 3 words.
Keep Verstappen forever.
Yeah, similar. I've gone with Max Verstappen Racing.
Kind of similar to me. I've gone with the Verstappen paradox.
Wow.
3 Verstappen heavy 3-word statements, which is in keeping with where the team seems to be at. Sam, I won't make any guesses, but it feels like the Verstappen paradox is this problem of how good Verstappen is, but also how good Verstappen is.
Yeah, he has unlimited power. Someone photoshopped his face onto Thanos clicking with all the what they call Infinity Stones.
Yeah, but they're not Infinity Stones, they're second drivers.
The second drivers or his world titles, I don't know. Or Christian Horner and Marco's face. He's very good. And he's so good that there is a part of me that thinks it might be damaging the team. We've seen the internal fallout. Helmut Marko on one side, Christian Horner on another. You've got issues with politics happening internally, second drivers being booted out because they can't work out what's going on, and that's partially because the development of the car is so Max Verstappen focused. And I understand entirely why it's Max Verstappen focused, because he is that good. Why would you give, I don't know, the best chef in the world, why would you not supply him with the best kitchen in the world? You wouldn't make him sit outside on a recyclable barbecue that you bought for £2 in Asda. You want to give him a kitchen worthy of the things that he can create. Max Verstappen needs a car that is worthy of his talent, and they have given him that. But at what cost? The cost is that the second driver, unlike at McLaren, unlike at now Mercedes, that second driver simply cannot operate at a level that is even close to what they need to win a constructor's title. And a constructor's title is what brings in all of the moolah, all of the cash at the end of the season comes from there. That also decides things like your wind tunnel time, your CFD time, things like that, that really are integral to how you develop as a car. There's a lot going on that they are missing simply because Max Verstappen is so good. And also because he's so good, he will be poached by anyone the moment there's an opportunity for him to be poached. Anyone will get their hands on Max Verstappen if they can, and rightfully so. And they need to worry about that as well if they can't deliver a car that gives him the titles that he rightfully deserves. So it's a paradox that while he is so good, it is simultaneously destroying Red Bull from the inside.
They need to keep Verstappen happy?
Yeah, because, and I don't disagree with what Sam's saying, but as I think you pointed out in a previous episode, no Verstappen, they're probably languishing at the back of the constructors, potentially last, because Nico Hulkenberg was good in Australia. So, yeah, for these first 5 races, I think Max Verstappen is having his Fernando Alonso 2012 year.
It feels that way.
Yeah, and he's making that car do things it just shouldn't do. And there are races where it's not going to work, as we saw in Bahrain. But then the races where the car does work, he makes the most of it. I mean, you obviously can argue that Saudi didn't make the most of it entirely, but he was still P2.
There's a case that he could have won that race.
Yeah, but I think given where that car is, there's also a case to say they shouldn't even be in the top 5. So at the moment, they've got far bigger problems, which I agree with. And he isn't going to stay forever. Even if he doesn't move on, he will retire one day. But for now, keep that man happy. Pay him all the money, give him all the Red Bull. Whatever he wants, let him do all the sim racing. Doesn't matter.
Yeah. I went with Max Verstappen Racing because they might as well just change the team name at this point. I just cannot think of any comparable situation ever in the history of F1. Like, I know we mentioned that Verstappen might be having his Alonso Ferrari 2012 year. And I know Alonso that year was far better than Felipe Massa. But Massa still scored points on the regular. Like, Verstappen he's scored all of 2 points for the team. Like, I've just never seen anything like it.
That ratio is mad.
And I don't necessarily disagree with you that it could be a problem for Red Bull. But equally, what would the team look like without Verstappen right now? It would be an utter mess. Unfortunately for Red Bull, at the moment, it just feels like 2025 is an extension of 2024, which is what they would not have wanted in the slightest. It's still a Verstappen-heavy team. The team is still unhappy. They're a long way behind McLaren, it feels like, and they're still making laughable decisions like promoting Lawson for 2 races and then doing what they should have done in the first place, which was promote Yuki Tsunoda. So, unfortunately, doesn't seem like much has changed. We'll now move on to the 4th place team in the Constructors' Championship. That is Ferrari. Harry, 3 words.
Just be better.
Nice. Yeah. I can't argue with it.
Straight to the point.
Sam?
Andiamo di nuovo.
Oh, we go again.
We go again. Yeah, bang.
Defying logic again.
Ferrari once again just confusing the room.
Sam, first of all, translate and then explain.
So, Andiamo di nuovo means we go again in Italian. It's a bit of a running joke if you're new to the podcast here. And by we go again, I mean, this ain't your year, Ferrari, is it? Again, for what, the 18th year in a row at this point. It's just not your time. You've got, arguably, there's every chance that you look back at this in 50 years' time and you go, Leclerc and Hamilton might be one of the greatest flying-ups in all of Formula One history. And you've just scrunched it up and put it in the bin. It's like taking the Mona Lisa and just like throwing it in the bin on the way out and not realising what you've done. It's that good. It's a work of art. And you've got this HP bin bag that's flying around the racetrack. And it's not very good, is it? Really, it's not great. So get it together. I really think Ferrari need to consolidate what they've done. A sprint win and 1 podium is not really good enough to realise that actually this is our year and we should try and go all in on development, on changes, on making this the year that we finally win something. I'd argue Ferrari, park it immediately, development starts properly for 2026 and nail that new regulation, because there's a real chance I think that Ferrari won't think about this properly and will go, there's races we might have a chance of winning. And they'll keep trying to push development signal for 2025. And I think it will then cost them again for another year and another year. And they almost get wrapped up in themselves. So we go again in 2026. Just be standard. We accept that you're not going very good. No race wins, whatever. Nail it next year.
Defying logic again. Because why shouldn't this work? There's no, apart from it's Ferrari, there's no reason why this shouldn't work.
That is your reason.
Well, exactly. But on paper, this should be brilliant. Okay, if I said like pre-season, pit stops, they're the best team. They've had no blunders and they are the best team on pit stops. Strategy has been fine all year. No problems. Drivers, they have Charles Leclerc, who's one of the best in the sport, who is probably entering his prime or already in his prime, and the most successful driver in the history of the sport, Lewis Hamilton. And last year, they ended the season as the best team. They scored more points than anyone in the last 6 races of 2024. They were 61 points ahead of McLaren in that 6 races to end last season. So why isn't it working?
Canada
it just should.
Canada last year, that's going to haunt them forever.
If I was to tell you all of that to kick off the year, you'd say, after 5 races, they've got to be leading the championship, right? No. Well, they've got to be a close second. They must be running McLaren real close. No. Well, they must. Okay, they've had a disaster. Never mind. They're in 3rd. Nope. They're in 4th. I do not understand how they're in this sport. McLaren are walking away with this, and they shouldn't. Like, this should be a far more exciting season right now than what it is. And at least part of the reason it's not more exciting is because Ferrari are not doing what they should be doing. It annoys me.
I feel like a fool for putting Ferrari at the top of my predictions.
Yeah.
And I know it's Ferrari. You think, well, why have you bothered to give them any faith? But they genuinely look so good at the end of last year that they should be closer. Because if they were, I don't know, if Hamilton and Leclerc were in third and fourth in the drivers and they were 25 points back, you go, okay, an upgrade, that can flip over. Maybe they're 20 points back in the constructors. Sure. They're literally about 4 races behind at this point, and they need a miracle to turn that around.
And like you say, they need to be in a position where they are ready to pivot.
They need to capitalise in 26.
Yeah. Harry, your 3 words were...
Just be better.
It summarises itself.
I don't know
But
if you need to say
yes.
more.
Well, yeah. Something in there.
That's the problem.
There's something in there. It's brewing. It's been brewing for months now.
The kettle is on.
It's
China, honestly, is just encompassed their full season.
yeah.
I don't understand it.
And look, I'm hopeful that if there is this upgrade they bring to Miami, and it's to do with the they can put the car lower again without it being illegal. Maybe they get back in this, but it's just be better because, like you've already said, you've got such a good lineup, and I think Fred Vassar's doing good things with the team in terms of strategy.
Operationally, they are better than they've been in a long time.
The in Bahrain when their alternative strategy, which was going to work,
That was going to work.
Obviously, it was scuppered by the safety car, but yeah. So all of these things are good. Why they didn't just do a continuation of last year's car and did a redesign of stuff?
Well, they
Changed the entire braking mechanism, haven't they? Which is a huge
they
change.
did, yeah.
And suspension, I
And the
think.
suspension model.
Why? There's 1 year left of this.
I wonder if they are going to use it for 26 and they're trying to get through the problem.
But just be better because it's really annoying. Hamilton's clearly struggling, but we can give him leeway because of, or they give him leeway still because of the fact that it's still early doors in the season, and he's proven that when the car works, he can drive it. Leclerc is just.
Leclerc.
I think Leclerc could be. I know Piastri and Verstappen are bigger, but I think Leclerc could be my driver of the season so far because he's doing things that shouldn't be possible. Shouldn't be on the podium in Saudi. Why is it there?
Yeah, that was a great drive.
It does feel like the car is struggling, full stop, but qualifying is a real problem. And I know you could argue, well, what Lewis Hamilton has been doing in Q3 is actually a continuation of what happened in Q3 last year at Mercedes for him. But if Charles Leclerc is hustling with a capital H to put that car like 4th and 3 tenths back in some of these qualifying sessions, I'm more inclined to say that's Ferrari's doing that they're not on the front row and not Charles Leclerc, who has consistently proven he's an excellent qualifier.
Agreed.
So, in summary, Ferrari from all 3 of us, come on.
Do something.
2-word summary. Come on.
Williams. Of course, the epic battle between Ferrari and Williams has taken its turn towards Ferrari, but there's plenty of time for Williams
Saw
to
that
strike back.
coming. Yeah.
Yeah.
The Netflix story is going to be huge.
Yeah.
But at least at the moment, Williams 4 positions higher than where they finished 2024. They were second last year, and they're currently in the top half of the championship. Sam, your 3 words?
Future is now.
Good.
Harry?
Let Valves cook.
I mean, basically the same as me. Respect Daddy Valves.
Pick up the daddy.
Pick up.
Future is now.
Future is now. We've had 2 or 3 seasons now where we are talking about we're not going for this season, we're not developing for this season, we're not working for this season, we're hiring for later on, the project is coming.
Psych,
the project is now. I respect Danny Valves because he's making those hardcore calls and he's making them with confidence. He's got the team behind him. That lineup is cooking. He's got 2 sous chefs. Danny Valves is there on the main hob. He's got Albon absolutely dicing their onions at full speed. Carlos Sainz is there whipping up the batter and they are making a feast.
What are they making with? What are they dicing onions and batter?
You'll find it at the chipper. That's all I can say.
A battered onion.
Yeah. Hey, you go down there and you find yourself a sensational meal, my friend.
They work for heck, don't they?
They work for get the sausages in, my friend. Pierre Gasly is bringing them over as a treat. My point is, we're finally entering this era of where Williams and Valves are coming together. It's happening. The project is starting to happen. And you can see that in their first 5 races where Albon has been given a car that's actually competitive. And we're seeing that consistent and strong talent that Alex Albon has got under the hood. He's developing really, really well. And Carlos Sainz has just started to find his feet. Bahrain, there were glimmers and then it went the wrong way, but Saudi was a brilliant Grand Prix for Carlos Sainz. Now, they've announced that they're going to turn their focus to 2026. I could not be happier that that's what they're doing. The car for this season is fine. And you know what? If they end up dropping back to 6th, 7th in the championship, it's not a disaster at all. That's the right way to phrase it. But I think they've operationally got themselves in a really good spot where they can kick on for the next generation of F1 cars. And I'm really pleased to see that Williams are genuinely a competitive force again. So first 5 races really, really solid, but they understand the journey. They understand that now is where it starts, and they are kicking on really, really well.
Harry, let Vals cook.
Yeah, I think everything this year is a bonus for Williams, and like you say, if they do start to slip back now, I think we all will understand why. But just the fact of where he has got them to as a team. Have you watched the video of like their last few laps? I think F1 released this. All the team radio between Albon and the team, Sainz and the team, and they're talking about the Singapore situation.
Oh no, I didn't hear it, but I heard that James Vowles said, that might not have been the best phrase of all time.
Yeah.
I need to watch this.
The code. What is the code for the Singapore? Anyway, but basically, so they were just Sainz fell back and was DRS'd Albon along to stop Hadjar getting past him.
Yeah.
I mean, all the way through, Albon is still absolutely furious about anything to do with his team. And at the end, he's like, congrats, guys, that was great work.
Yeah, thanks, guys. I love you all so much. You're the best friends ever.
He's like a real Jekyll and Hyde.
Yeah, come round for Christmas, please. Gets in the car. Okay.
But in the middle, he's like, what is he doing?
Rogue Rage takes over.
But I think that video, and people go and watch it, encompasses where Williams have got to now in terms of they've got 2 great drivers. They've never been able to do this before. Like 2 drivers together at the same time.
When was the last time they had a genuinely good lineup of 2 great drivers?
In fact, I just did on Alex Albon very quickly. It's quite reassuring what he's been able to do these first few races. I'm sure there were at least a couple of question marks like, oh, he's going up against someone a bit better than Logan Sargent now.
Yeah.
Or Nicholas Latifi. And he's stepped up.
He has. But yeah, like I say, the pace might fall off for this year, but I don't think that matters. I think they're proving operationally, as you say, that they can work as a proper competitive team again. And I think that video encompasses it because it was very slick work from all involved. So yeah, let him cook. I think he's doing great things as James Vowles. We always knew the Sainz signing was good. The Sainz signing was good.
Yeah.
The Sainzing was a great call. Obviously, he's taken a few races, but give the man a break. But yeah, Saudi was great for him. I think that as a lineup, if they have a competitive car next year, could be very, very potent.
Saucy indeed. I mean, they've got 25 points after 5 races, and I can't say this enough, like how much of an improvement this is for Williams, in that if they get 4 more points this season, which again, they've got 20-25 in 5 races, if they get 4 in the next 19, it will be their best season since 2017.
Oh, that was so long ago.
But exactly, they have been really down for a long time. So what James Vowles has been able to recover already has been great. And as he routinely says, this isn't what we're aiming for. Like, we're not here to get to the top of the midfield. We're here to do far better than that. So even though this year technically doesn't matter, it will still be a useful motivational boost for a lot of members of that team, because I know that they've hired a lot in the last year or so, 2 years, but there are still going to be a lot of people there who have been all throughout like 2021, 2020, 2019, and they will have been told for a long time, we've got a plan for the future, we've got investment for the future, it's about next year, not this year. And it gets to a certain point, surely, that you start to lose motivation if you don't have those milestones along the way, those signs of improvement.
Nice.
Hey.
Second pun of the day, but on fire, mate.
But this is... They have had this year, to the point where they've had like 6-point scoring finishes already. And they'll have motivation now to go, okay, we've gone from where we were at the back of the grid. We're now scoring regular points. Maybe it does tail off this year. Maybe it doesn't. Who knows? But the fact that they've already done that and they will motivate themselves to be in a point next year where it's like, if we got 8th and 9th, that would be a disappointment.
Yeah.
I think it's a really useful start for them. And even though Carlos Sainz, he has got better, they've been really good, even though Carlos Sainz hasn't been really good. Like, if you would say Carlos Sainz, 5 out of 10 is like bang on your expectations going into this season. 10 out of 10 is wildly exceeded. 1 out of 10 is wildly fallen short. He's probably closer to 1 than 10. He's not a 1, but he's closer to 1 than 10. So the fact that they're still as consistent as what they are, pretty impressive. Next team is Haas.
Sam's laughing at what he's written. Go on then.
Let's get out of the way.
I don't understand. I don't understand.
Nice.
Yeah.
I've gone with glass half full.
Oh, nice. I've gone for Ocon's head thumper.
You're back to the thumping headache.
There we go.
I'm assuming the thumping headache in this situation is his younger teammate, Oliver Behrman.
It is.
He's up late playing music really loud, and it's like,
Yeah.
oh, shut up, trying to sleep.
Goddamn kids. Yeah, look, I think Haas have been... I don't understand it's fair. I think there's been some real great races for them. They seem to have some weekends really struggled. Like on Friday, they looked absolutely terrible.
Yeah.
And then Komatsu's put his chef's whites on, got in the kitchen, cooked up something, and they've recovered for the weekend.
This is wrong.
Exactly. But sometimes it's not got there. It's certainly their race pace seems to be better than their qualifying pace, so they're having to do a lot of work in races to...
The irony of that statement, by the way, based on where they were 2 years
I know.
ago.
Goodness me. Kevin Magnussen's like,
Oh,
I can't
God.
believe it. But yeah, that seems to be the case at the moment. And Saudi, they recovered, but it was for nothing. They got no points out of it. But Oliver Behrman has been the shining light for me of the Haas team so far. And I'm not saying Ocon's been terrible, but he's had a couple of inconsistent races versus Behrman. And again, maybe we do give him a bit of leeway because it's a new team. Behrman did have a couple of races last year with them, but that probably doesn't count for that much. Ocon's got way more experience as an F1 driver, so yeah, I think he's probably giving Ocon a harder time than Esteban expected going into this year, especially at the beginning of it. But that in itself, I don't think it's a bad thing because it'll force Esteban to step up again. I think he will, and I think he, for the most part, has been on a par. But Behrman's been very impressive.
Yeah, I've gone with glass half full because there have been a lot of ups and downs for Haas so far this year, but I do think the ups outweigh the downs ever so slightly. The points total is a weird... this is a compliment, sort of. The points total is probably higher than it should be.
Yeah, massively.
We've currently got Haas on 20 points, VCarb on 8, and Alpine on 6. It feels like all three of them should have pretty much the same amount of points.
None.
I mean, they've all been all right, but it feels like they should all have 12 points.
Yeah, that's fair.
But Haas have been the ones who have been able to take advantage of excellent strategy in Bahrain, Ocon in China as well.
China was so good.
Yeah, and those have definitely been the plus points. In terms of pure performance, it feels like they are maybe ever so slightly off where they were at the end of last season. Not dramatically so, but I don't think they're quite as... And to be honest, it's more consistency again. Like you said, Harry, some weekends they turn up and they look like they're on it. And there are other weekends like Australia where they were so slow there. Overall, though, I'm positive. Like Williams, they're building something for the future. And like with Williams as well, I wouldn't necessarily say this is a setback for them this year, Haas, because they're still pretty good. But Williams last year, for example, were worse than they were in 2023. It's a journey, and I'm fine if Haas aren't quite as good as what they were last year, because it feels like everything's being built towards what it should be built, and the lineup's looking pretty good. I think Ocon has kind of come in and filled the Nico Hülkenberg role. He's been a little inconsistent, but I think he's done well. And Behrman, I know we discussed rookies as part of a Patreon topic this last week. I was very complimentary of Oliver Behrman. I think he's done a wonderful job so far. You don't understand.
No, I don't.
Concept, the game, life,
Where
Haas.
we are.
Gene Haas,
He doesn't understand.
what the point of Formula One is. I don't think they understand that. It felt like when Komatsu came in and took over, they had some clear defining issues, really obvious places where you fix that, you take a massive leap forward. Understanding tyres, that was a good place to start. Once you understand those, your car knows what it's doing on the racetrack. Operationally, they seemed like they were lacking some key personnel. They seemed like they were trying to cost cut at every corner. Like they didn't know who was doing their job, and Komatsu was doing multiple things. And this season, there are some real positives. Ocon in China, the way Behrman has come about this season has been fantastic. The points that they've managed to get hold of have been brilliant, but I don't understand how they've got the points that they've got. They shouldn't be 6th. They shouldn't be 5 points behind Williams. Williams have been so much better at every point throughout this season, and yet there is 5 points between those teams. Ocon has been simultaneously fantastic in some moments and a ghost. He's been nowhere some other times. Behrman has been last on the grid and then scoring points. I don't know how the car isn't working simultaneously. The conditions it works in sometimes are the same or it doesn't work. It doesn't make sense. Usually you can pinpoint, the car is very draggy, or it's a bit overweight, or the tyres don't work properly, or it's porpoising or something like that. Everything seems to work on the Haas, and simultaneously nothing is working on the Haas, and I don't know how they're doing it at the same time. So they need to work that out. It has been very up and down for the first 5 races. They need to make sure they get that sorted for 2026, and I think they should be one of these teams that realistically doesn't give this season any more focus.
Let's move on to Aston Martin. Harry, 3 words.
It's almost 2026.
It's not almost enough if you're Fernando.
Let me just check the calendar. April.
It is for Fernando. He celebrated New Year's Eve 2024, and then he's turned off for the year.
Hibernation.
And then he'll wake up 1st of Jan 2026.
Funny enough, that speaks very closely to my 3 words, which are cryogenically freeze Alonso.
Very similar.
Right. Yes.
Yeah. Very similar, actually.
I reckon we're almost on the same wavelength.
I pronounced it slightly differently compared to Harry, but I couldn't
Just the
tell much
accent
difference.
difference,
I've gone with ban Nui watching.
Bang.
Ban and Nui watching.
You're like, bang.
Bang!
The
Nui's
Nui
watching.
I was like, that doesn't make sense. But
Barry Scott is actually going to make a surprise appearance.
Oh my God, I will freak if Barry Scott
Can
walked
you
in.
imagine if he walked through that door right now?
Oh Lord, that would be wonderful.
It'd bang straight through it.
He hasn't used doors.
Bang.
Through the wall.
Yeah. I've gone with ban, with no G on the end, Nui watching, because he's just going to be too tempted to try and fix this car. Don't try and fix this car, Adrian. It's doomed. Move on to next year.
Hey, have you seen any pictures of him outside of the factory since he signed?
That man.
He's not outside the factory.
Exactly. There was when he was announced, and then yesterday when they pitched him with the Fernando.
He's underground now.
His wife is like putting up posters around the town. Like, have you seen this man?
Yeah.
Adrian Newey missing.
Around the countryside of Oxfordshire.
I feel like she should know where to look. Like it's probably the most obvious place.
She's like, see you in about 11 months' time.
Yeah, but bye now.
Bye-bye.
So yeah, don't let him watch the current races, because there's just no point trying to fix it. They've got 10 points. I've got no idea how. And neither does Lance Stroll, who's got all 10 of them.
Yeah, that's the most confusing part of this.
Fair play to him. He was just there in Australia, and I appreciate that, because many drivers, including his teammate, weren't there. And then he somehow picks up 2 points in China based on a couple of disqualifications. So
Thanks, Ferrari.
yeah, I'm not sure how they've got 10 points. They've probably had the pace to have none. Fair play to Alonso, who's been able to just ragdoll the car into Q2 every weekend and then go, yep, that's it. I ain't got any more than that.
For the day.
Yep. I don't know. They were touting in pre-season that this car was going to be more predictable, and in that sense, I guess they were right. Unfortunately, it's just predictably slow.
More drivability.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
Yeah.
That is what cars typically need.
You know what? Fernando Alonso's probably loving the fact that the car is more drivable.
Yeah.
So yeah, ban Nui watching. Harry?
Yeah, it's almost 2026.
Is it?
Yeah, it's going to have to be. This year is a complete write-off for them. If they haven't already no, I don't think they even...
Did they bother starting?
Yeah, they haven't started, so there's no need
No.
to pivot.
No.
The pivot came in at the end of 2024, so I think they've they've all accepted their fate. It's going to be a bit of a tough year all round. But as we've joked about and said already, the no life behind Fernando Alonso's eyes in every interview he's doing at the moment just suggests that he doesn't care. And
Just
he's
turned
waiting
off,
for
isn't
next
he?
year. You know, he went to the photos of him with Adrian Newey. He just went to check he's still there. Is that all good for you?
yeah.
Oh, you haven't run away. It wasn't a dream.
Thank God, it wasn't a dream. So yeah, that's I know it's terrible for them in terms of the performance so far, but there was no way. Even if they were slightly good, I think there was no way they were really going to do much this year. I think that it sounds weird, but it's almost a good thing that Williams have been this good, because I think whereas Williams may now be pivoting. Yeah, there's nothing to chase. What are you going to catch? Haas? Well, whatever, doesn't matter. So yeah, I think that is in itself is kind of a good thing, but it's all on next year.
And you've gone scientific with your answer.
Surprisingly. Fernando Alonso's your main guy. They need to keep him at least a bit happy, and he needs to see more results off track than he does on track. I don't think it matters at all. If you were to say to Fernando Alonso, you're going to finish 20th place every single race the rest of the season, but each month we will show you really solid development where that car is improving and improving and improving, and we think going into the new generation, you'll have a car that can fight.
Now we can fight.
That's what he needs.
7 years ago that was said.
Yeah, I know. And that man
Still waiting.
was sat in the changing room with a little sword and a shield going,
I'm ready.
when do I fight? Now, Fernando,
Sub me in, boss.
they just need to keep him as happy as they can until the new year rolls around, basically. The year's a write-off. We've seen how poor they've been. They have been arguably the second, if not the slowest car at some racetracks. So the pair of them are actually doing a semi-decent job. It's a horror show at Aston Martin, the decline that they've seen. They need to hope that they can get it together for 26.
I think one of the worst things that almost happened to them, I know obviously there should be more, but the aim's been 26 for ages. 2023.
How good 2023 was.
Yeah, it should, that's really not hurt them, because obviously it was good, but I think the expectation is up there now, but the performance isn't.
Indeed. But yeah, sorry, Aston Martin. It's not 2026 yet, but it's nearly there.
Almost there.
VCarb, Racing Bulls, Minardi. 3 words. Sam.
3 big booms!
I so nearly went with 3 big booms.
Yeah, easy one for me.
Harry.
I've gone for some big booms.
I'm so glad I didn't end up going for something related to big booms. I went with toughest to predict. Sam, 3 big booms.
Toughest to boom! Everyone loves big booms. Hagjar's a star. He's a little star.
A star.
Has star. The Rizzler.
No, I don't like that.
No, terrible, isn't it? That's like McDring.
Anyway, we've seen the bloke
Yeah.
God.
on board.
Could they not have done an onboard where the guy doesn't lose it?
Doesn't go over the chicane and crash into a wall. Who releases
Why have you
that?
put that out?
Welcome to our new car. Here it is crashing into a wall. Would you like to buy one? No,
Someone watched it and went,
that's the one.
signed off.
Take 7. That's it.
Maybe that's the best one. They've been there all day.
Anyway, really looking forward to that.
Oh, God. Sorry to F1 drivers who have to put their life at risk every corner of that racetrack. Hagjar is a star. He has really wowed me. He's done far better than I thought he was. I love his emotional commitment to the sport. I love how much he cares about it every single time. He's gelled immediately, and he had that shocker, obviously, in Australia where he crashed on the formation lap, and that is so difficult to take for anyone. But your first ever Grand Prix, when you realise your dream and it gets shattered by your own doing, that is heartbreaking. But he's bounced back so brilliantly. Pace is electric. Really, really pleased. The second seat's a problem, and because they're part of Red Bull, they are constantly under this watchful eye. Imagine Sauron's big eye, but it's Helmut Marko's big eye.
Oh, do I have to?
Yeah.
I want to imagine that. That's hell.
That is the Helmut Marko issue with the Racing Bulls. They have a second seat problem. They can't consistently get into the points. And because they're a feeder team into the sister team, of course, of Red Bull, it's very hard for them to kind of go, we're going to focus on 26 so we can be really, really successful, because they're always being led by someone else. So it's really tricky to know what it is they should or shouldn't be doing, rather than just playing follow the leader for their big sister team.
Harry, some big booms.
Yeah, for the situation that team has been put in for the start of this year specifically, I actually think they've done quite a good job. Because if you think about Hadjar being a rookie, and I agree, he's been very impressive, Australia aside. I think he has been really impressive. But they've got to, look after that rookie in his first few races, get him up to speed. Then your other experienced driver gets taken away after 2 races, and then you get the one back that he had last year that also has been very terrible this year in his first 2 races. I think they're doing a relatively good job. That's not a good scenario for a team to be in. And the worst part is, it's just, as you've already mentioned, it's not even in their control. They're not even making this their own problem. So, yeah, it was frustrating when they forgot how to do any strategy in the first few races. But they had a lot going on. Bless them. Like Laura Mecky's had a lot to do, lot to deal with. So, yeah, that's why I've said some big booms. I think there's been definitely some highlights. Isaac Hadjar being one of them. Lawson, as we've said, he had his most not impressive. He's had his best race so far in Saudi. Hopefully that points to some confidence being regained. And if he can get closer and closer to where Hadjar is performing, then they could have a decent rest of the year. So I want it to be 3 big booms by the end of the year, please. VCARB.
I've gone with toughest to predict because they're currently 8th on 8 points exactly. I could see them finishing 5th this year because every team in front of them should, in theory, direct attention to 2026 before them. I could see them finishing 5th, even if I don't think it's likely. I could also see them finishing 9th. I could see Alpine catching. So I don't know where this team is going to end up this year. And also because within the two seats, you've got a guy who's done 5 races and a guy that's done 3 races for this team this year. Like, how they're going to fare is a bit of a guessing game. Hadjar has done very well to this point, particularly in qualifying. The fact that he's had no Q1 eliminations, his 14th place start at Saudi last week, that's his worst qualifying performance of the season so far, which is good going for a rookie. And perhaps most encouragingly is the 2 Q3 appearances he's had. He's started 7th in both of those races. Like, he's not just got through to Q3. He's actually taken advantage of it when he's got there. If he'd started P10, like, you'd have gone, great, good effort. But he's gone even beyond that. Lawson, who knows? We've only had, to be fair to him, it's been 3 races, but it's been one continuous 3 races. Like, he hasn't had a week break between any of them. So it will be interesting to see how he comes back a bit more refreshed in Miami. Encouragingly, of those 3 races, I think the second was better than the first and the third was better than the second. So there could be something in there. We saw he was relatively competitive with Tsunoda when he was there. So it could be a lineup that's good enough to see this team finish higher than where it is at the moment. But again, it's no guarantees. Like, I could 5th to 9th. Could see them finishing anywhere.
And also, what does it matter?
That's also a problem.
What does it matter for them?
Alpine are up next. They are currently 9th in the championship. They're actually level with Sauber on 6 points, but they've got ahead on a tie break. So well done, Alpine. Harry, 3 words?
Unsure if good.
Valid. Sam?
Gasly's doing it.
Valid. I've gone with Ferrari's little brother.
No, it's me, Alpine.
I'm not convinced. I think it might be Ferrari. So they're the Ferrari of the midfield. That's the problem.
In the promise, but no results.
Say you're unsure if they're good.
Yeah.
Same thing. It's just like there's something in there that's better than 9th.
It's brewing.
But it's not there yet.
Kettles just sat on for...
It was there in Bahrain and Bahrain only, in the same way it was there for China, for Ferrari. And
it could have been there in Jeddah.
It could have been there in Jeddah. And
Gasly...
I think they were... If you go back to like China and Japan, they were really struggling qualifying that car, particularly in China, because there were 2 qualifying sessions there, and they were knocked out. They were knocked out in Q1, both drivers, both times. And of course, in Japan, qualifying was pretty important. But the last few races, Gasly's qualifying performance, at least in Saudi Arabia, and his race performance in Bahrain have been much, much better. I think they won't be 9th for long. If they can take advantage of what that car is actually capable of, I think they will get closer to 6th and 5th in that discussion. The question is going to be whether they've left themselves, I know it's early, but have they left themselves a bit too much to do? Williams have already got a bit of an advantage over them. So if they're fairly level for the rest of this season, remains to be seen, maybe these first 5 races will be the difference. But they're just Ferrari, just not as good, which is saying something. Sam, your 3 words were?
Gasly's doing it. Did you get it?
Yeah.
It's good, that, wasn't it? Got
Because-
both drivers in there.
Because Jack Doohan is the other driver
There you go.
at time of recording.
There you go. At the time of recording. Yeah, Gasly's form for the first 5 races is P11, disqualification, P13, P7, did not finish. It is so...
Oh, he's doing it.
Where are you? Points! Nothing. It's so confusing. It's so up and down. It's so topsy-turvy. But he's got the raw pace. And I think he is making the most out of what that Alpine is able to give right now. And it's like Mercedes a couple of years ago. It seems to really do well under incredibly specific circumstances. And Gasly has the talent to extract that in those specific circumstances. The problem is, Doohan is his teammate. Now, I really want to give Jack Doohan the benefit of the doubt. And he's having some glimmers, some moments of some really good ability. Australia got great. He wasn't very good in Jeddah. He was a bit better in Bahrain. Probably his best performance overall in Bahrain, and it started to slip back right at the end. He's very penalty prone, which isn't great when you're playing with drivers so close together where points may be on or off. And all of a sudden, he's finishing regularly 15th, 16th, 17th. It's not enough. It's not good enough. Because if something happens like it did in Jeddah to Gasly, where he's taken out on the first lap, the car should be good enough to challenge for points. And he just hasn't got it to turn it around for them. And that's the problem. Alpine have been and still are fighting with one hand behind their back. And I think there's a risk that they don't know their own commitment to what's coming up in Formula One. We know they've just taken Mercedes engines and gearboxes. We don't know if they're planning on selling, if they're going to become their own team properly again, if they're going to just stay as a customer team now, which is odd for a team that could be its own constructor and manufacturer. They're in a world of confusion, and they can't seem to get anything right on track either. So Gasly's doing it. No one else is.
Speaking of not doing it, Sauber, they're last up. 3 words, Sam?
3 words for Sauber are driving death trap.
Similar to mine, I've gone for terrorism in green.
Nice.
Harry?
I just said such a toaster.
Yeah.
Such a toast.
Well, I don't think anything's needed beyond the 3 words, but we'll give you a little bit. It's a death trap, Sam.
Yeah, every time they even could qualify around the others, and Hulkenberg especially has done it a few times where he's being at the end of Q1, that 16th, 17th place. It's, if something goes the right way, you can find
Bortoleto had a couple of Q2s.
Bortoleto's done okay as well, and he's trying really hard, bless him, as a rookie who is a current F2 champion. He has impressed me in a car where you can almost never tell if you're actually doing a good job or not. But the first lap, watching them on board is genuinely like watching a diver swim into the mouth of a great white shark. And you're like, will they come out alive?
But really slowly.
Really slowly. Like me doing breaststroke in the ocean. Like, oh, God, this is a lot of time. It's really...
Front crawl, mate.
Oh, whatever, mate. It's really knackering. The shark's coming. It's going to get me. Oh, just missed me this one time. They could die at any point, and I wish that upon no one. So I hope that they can find some safety soon.
It's been some absolute banging analogies from you today.
We're in together in the studio.
We're in the studio,
The mood's high.
upping the
I've
game.
got a cold brew over here. The energy
You're not
is
allowed to
pumping.
drink.
I can't drink it 'cause it makes too much noise on the microphone.
It's just a brew now. It's been here for so
It's just
long.
water.
It is a liquid.
It's gone back to its original coffee bean.
Harry, such a toaster.
I mean, yeah.
Yeah.
It's more of a toaster than last year, which I thought was physically impossible. It's actually one of those 4-slice toasters now rather than a 2-1.
I've got one of them at home.
Oh, yes.
They are great.
How does a team have 6 points and that flattered?
You've done so well, sweetie.
Have another 2 slots of toast.
Yeah, they are just... It's a terrible, terrible car. And Nico Hulkenberg must be praying every day that Audi are good. Jonathan Wheatley's there like... Whoa.
He needs more of that Vorsprung Dirch technique.
He does. Yeah. What else do you say?
There isn't much else.
They are terrible. It's literally
doesn't even make good toast. It
a
doesn't even make
4-slice
good toast.
toaster would be better, actually.
You know what? Do you know what toasters are good for?
What's that?
Hot cross buns.
They are so good for cross bites. And you could do 2 at a time with the
Do you know what? I had one this morning.
Did you really?
Yeah. Anyway, sorry.
No, I should have expected that answer.
I got Greg's.
Do you know what?
Sausage, bean and cheese melt.
Was it a heck sausage?
I don't know.
Well, third mention for hex sausage.
We are not sponsored, but if you're listening,
It's a read ad.
I would take it.
Toasters, generally.
Oh, we're back to this.
Heat.
Yeah.
Which they need.
They desperately... Because those tyres are the coldest thing known to mankind.
Yeah.
How do they lap one every time not look like they can go through a corner? I just don't understand. To lap one restarts, Sauber just... And we've already spoken about how important qualifying is this year. And you might have Bortoleto get a 15th place or Hulkenberg a 14th place in qualifying. If they're losing 4 places off the start... They might as well have just been knocked out in Q1. Save yourself a set of tyres that won't warm up anyway.
It's like giving a toddler ice skates and telling them to do a pirouette, isn't it?
Has anyone told them that they can put tyre warmers on? Do you think they've forgotten?
I think that they are racing an IndyCar. They don't know.
Putting the tyres in the driver's ice baths and getting it wrong. And thinking, good job, tyre. Cool down.
Good job, tyre.
Annoyingly, I actually think they are a bit quicker than what they were last year.
I think the car is okay.
I think it's the slowest, but I don't think it's, like, on pure pace, that much the slowest. I think it can compete with Haas and Aston Martin.
It does feel very early on as well in the season that every team has scored points. Like, this is unusually early that everyone is that close at the back. It's not just 1 point either. They have multiple.
6 points.
Do you know who would actually like driving that Sauber this year?
Who's that, mate?
Valtteri Bottas. Because he loves cold tyres.
That's why he loves Russia.
Apart from Turkey.
Apart from Turkey. But he was always excellent on like cold tyres.
Yeah.
Did he do more spins or laps at Turkey?
Spins.
It was close, yeah.
Well,
that's our 3-word summaries for all 10 teams. Let us know what your 3-word summaries are for all of the teams and see if you can be even cleverer and witter than us.
that has gone so badly.
Nice.
The irony of that statement.
Can you be more clever?
Can you be more witterer?
cleverer?